still choppy. All right. All right. Well, we are slowly starting to send data.
Perfect. Perfect.
It's sounding good. Where in my preview window.
Well, that's good. Good. Glad to hear it.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Yay, so
All
much
right.
better. Fantastic. Oh wow. Whenever I see someone say, "Oh no," I am transported to the Matrix for that just the perfect "Oh no" right before all the agents attack. So, thank you, Aubrey.
All right. Perfect. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for keeping us on our audio. So far, we have just been talking about news. We haven't been talking about the
Mhm.
topic of the day. So,
Pirates.
but yep, which is pirates. Uh, oh, thank you so much for that. I don't know why it does that. I need to investigate that a little bit. But whenever that happens, I just have to restart OBS and go
Yeah,
from there. And it sounds like the YouTube is good over there as well. So,
great.
um, awesome. Thank you so much for giving us that shout out, letting us know what's going on. Oh, I need to start the physical recording again, and it's going.
Perfect, perfect. Good.
Hopefully, I won't have to join that later. But yeah, we were just talking about this amazing site that just was acquired by Asmodee called Board Gamer, a board game arena,
Mhm.
and yeah, I just popped, and we're recording, and I just popped over there just to take a quick look at it,
Mhm.
and man, that's really cool. I did not know that was a thing.
It is pretty good. There is one downside, and I will let you know because this is an important downside.
Yeah.
They want you to avoid cheating, right? So you cannot play with someone at the same IP address. So we were trying to play a game together here, and it didn't work. I wasn't able to connect to the game. So get them VPNs. Like let's. I don't know what they do. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's
right.
exactly what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, yeah, we'll just get you set up with a VPN. It'll be good.
The things that all my students know that I'm still too dumb to learn about. um, yeah, but it's. I think it is about cheating, right? They don't want you to be able to look at two hands of cards and just
Right.
wreck the game for other players, which I suppose is reasonable. But we're gonna just play against each other and just destroy this game of King Domino.
Yeah. I think with the Opera. Oh, Firefox and Brave. Brave. No, Firefox and Opera both have the availability to have a VPN built into them. So you
Oh,
may not even be able to have to download one. It's not as secure as like, like I have a very fancy VPN where I can VPN to all kinds of different places,
mhm.
and I use that for work. And that one, like, they don't track any of the data transfer, so it's like if I wanted to do something illicit, I could, but like I said, it's for work, and
Play tabletop
uh,
games,
like play tabletop games in the same house and cheat, and I could
yeah,
cheat. Um,
right. You could do it.
I could do it. Um, and yeah, so yeah, I think if you used either of those browsers for work, if I used either, thanks Aubrey. If we used any of those, no, those you might be able to get around it. But anyway,
Mhm. Right, right.
yeah.
Oh my gosh,
So that
very
was my
cool.
news. Asmodee acquired Board Game Arena.
That's pretty good. I only have two. I think these are both pretty quick. I can't let news go by about Kickstarter without just quickly. I don't think I actually promoted this last time at all. Um, but I'm putting out a Kickstarter right now called Twills Twist Points. We are halfway through. We've met our funding goal. We have 100 backers. We're a project we love. We're doing great. I'm very excited about it. Um, this is all about our me and my friend Julian, like a friend of mine from college, were talking about exploring, and we wanted to build a whole thing about um, getting rewards for finding things in a scene and building scenes that had things kind of stuck in them. So, like, if you were going to in your pirate adventure, go to your cove where the smugglers are hanging out. We've got a scene for you. There's 6 different elements to that scene that your characters could then use to like improve their spells or give them weird combat actions or all sorts of stuff. So I'm pretty excited about it. I think that one right now, there's stuff like using the shoreline to your advantage to like, momentum of the water, knock people under, stuff like that. Old crab shells that you can throw in someone's face or use to like power up your shield spell for a turn or something like that, your mage armor. The ancient Nereid shrine up on the hilltop, that maybe you can like adapt some water magic from that. So yeah, that's what we're up to with it. We're coming up with like 2 options for every one of those things. We're building like at this point I think 30 scenes. Should be fun.
That's awesome. Well, all my news is done. So you said you had another one.
Ooh, I just have to tell you about a game I played, and this is a lead in. Are you ready? I get to play a
Yeah.
board game called Forgotten Waters. I'm actually
Oh,
I'm gonna put this link here in the chat. Have you heard of this game?
no.
It is. Oh my gosh. They call it a crossroads game, because it is. A game about traveling around in the sea. Like you have these tiles that you're trying to get to, right? You're on a little pirate ship. You are the crew of the ship, and in the introductory adventure, your captain is telling you, we need to go to this specific place, um, on the edge of the world, right? And then I need to find someone there, and we'll get a bigger mission. There's a ship chasing you, and the way the game works is as you move across this map, you flip open this page, this book of amazing pages, plop it down, and then your crew has 40 seconds for you all to decide which of the things that you're going to do every turn. And it could be things like if you find another pirate ship that you want, or a merchant vessel that you want to board, someone might parlay, someone might need to load the guns, someone might need to fire the guns, maybe you just want to go steal something or rummage through other pirates stuff while battle is going on. Maybe you need to protect the captain, and there's too many things to do and there's not enough pirates, and you all have to choose based on who's the most infamous right now. um, it is so cool. Meanwhile, like,
Yeah.
you are trying to do specific actions to unlock your own story as a pirate. I was playing the culinary pirate, and if I am able to do enough different types of actions, it has to be different. It can't just be all the same. I start unlocking my own story, and I get to tell people that story, and I get benefits. It's so good. It's so good. And as I was playing this game, we were playing on Tabletop Simulator. I was really excited, and I feel like this is a game that I want to play. Like, come to Thanksgiving with this game, throw it down on the table, force you to play for 7 hours. It was very good, very thematic. It was incredible.
Well, we need to figure out our Thanksgiving plans. So
Yeah.
I think we've sorted those out. um, I saw there's an app too, and the app kind of helps with
Mhm.
those story situations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's not a game I forgot, Aubrey. I never heard of it before, just because it's called Forgotten Waters.
Oh gosh, it's so good. Um, I do. The theme for me was great too, because it's a lot about exploration, but also it builds in a lot of the like, yeah, the cruel stuff about pirates we were talking about last time. There was a point where we found some people who had been attacked by the pirate vessel, and our choices were either to let them on board and gain more crew, or just take their stuff. And we looked at our ship and we were like, well, our crew is already maxed out, so bye everybody.
Ah,
um, and it's kind of a funny game. I really like it.
that's awesome. Oh
Yeah.
man. So that brings us to the topic of the day,
Hmm.
which that was a very very good segue. So last week we jumped over into design zines, talked about those for a little bit, and today, wow, you can really see how bright my screen is in my glasses. Anyway, today we're going to be talking, going back to talking about pirates.
Hmm.
Last time, just as a quick kind of summary, we talked about the positions on the crew, kind of what they do, that type of stuff. So things like the captain. Captain was nominated. The only time that they had like true 100% authority was during combat, so during fights and stuff like that. For the most part, they suggested things, and then the crew, if they had any issues, they would put it up to a vote. The first mate, quartermaster, kind of sometimes the same person, especially on a pirate ship. This person would often be involved with navigating between the crew and the captain. They also would do things like taking over should the captain fall during a combat situation. They stop the infighting around the crew, make sure goods are distributed properly, that type of stuff. Navigation sailing master, pretty straightforward. They're the guys who steer the ship. These are very important folks on the ship. They're usually the most educated. There's the bosun. The bosun takes care of all the goods on the ship, so the rigging, the food stock, things like that. They would also be in charge of weighing the anchor and making sure the sails are all well taken care of. We have our ship's carpenter, so they would often answer to the bosun. They were the ones who were kind of just in charge of the ship. So whenever you put your ship up to get rid of the barnacles, they would be there. When you needed to replace panels, they would be the ones. Let's see. I think we talked about Master Gunner and Rigger as well. Master Gunner is the person who's in charge of all the guns. Done, right? Master Gunner controls all the gunners, and if I was going to do this in D&D, I might do like the Master Archer or whatever. If you weren't going to use cannons or guns in your D&D, but I do think you should. And then lastly, the riggers, they're not quite just general sailors, but they're assigned to roles of working the rigging and unfurling the sails and that type of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Whew. We also talked
I'm glad we talked about all that before I played that game. It all helped.
Oh, that's awesome. We also talked about shares. So whenever the way boats worked, being a pirate worked was a lot of times as a sailor, you didn't get paid very well, but as a pirate, you did. So as a pirate, everyone got at least one share, and those shares were dependent on your role. So like the captain would get 2 shares, quartermaster, first mate would get between 1.5 and 2 shares. Bosun would also get about 1.5. General crew would get 1 share. Powder monkeys would probably get about 1/2 a share. Which powder monkeys tend to be like younger people, children, smaller folks who are on the boat. They would be the ones in charge of like loading cannons and crawling into small spaces, occasionally called bilge rats. But bilge rats were a real problem too because of the bilge. A lot of rats would end up taking up their home there. Whew.
Gross, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, pirates.
And I liked all that because that gives us this, whatever we're going to talk about with this adventure. There's a clear theme that like part of the pirate experience is kind of about this rank, this ordering, these choices, things like that. And I think that's kind of a cool thing to drop on an adventuring party every once in a while. Maybe it is a captain who is kind of flighty, and so you've got your roles, but maybe they'll change. Maybe you need to give them reports, and that'll change. You get only a 1/2 share, but you get first pick, or not first, but something like that. That seems like a fun thing you could manipulate to give. For those treasure moments when you find a hoard and the sword is there and everybody wants it, but the captain says, we have rules on this ship. And today, I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I just looked up a bit, and we didn't go over this, but I kind of think what I would enjoy talking a little bit about is because we're building a base to talk about being on a pirate ship, and there's some things that are like a little bit monotonous, but those are the duties on a ship, right?
Right.
So and I think these are some of the things that are kind of interesting to talk about. I don't know if you had a direction to go for today. No. This was where my thought was. All right. So whenever you're on a ship, your ship is your home, and your crew is your family, and all of you have to take care of everything, right? You don't get to call a plumber to come and fix your bilge pump, right? You have to fix it. So, um, one of the jobs, and this was this, it really seems like it would be fun initially, but
Uh-huh.
being in the crow's nest, that's one of the jobs. You right? Yeah, you typically
Hmm.
would get a 4 to 6 hour shift in the crow's nest. This would typically be the lower ranking ships, shipmates. So, this could even be like someone who's transitioning from like, being a powder monkey to a full crew member. It was grueling and boring. You would sit in a crow's nest
Yeah.
for hours looking across the sea with no cover from the sun, wind, or rain, and you would just be up there all the time.
Hmm.
But it was also a very important task because it's one you didn't want to mess up. Because you're not only looking for other ships, not only looking for land, you're looking for things that could be in the water that would damage your hull, right?
Right.
So you're looking out for corals. You're looking out for shipwrecks that might be tall enough to get to your boat. You're looking up for sandbars, shallow waters, that type of stuff. Um, so in D&D, I feel like this role would be someone who you probably want someone with a decent con and good perception, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going to need to make con checks to not get exhausted from whatever weather's up there.
Yep.
And
No one who's seasick.
they uh-huh. Yeah. So I think the crow's nest would be fun for about like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
climb all
But
the way
I
up there, hang out, and feel the
yeah.
shifting of the boat as it's doing this.
Right, because you're on the exact worst part to feel that. You get
Yeah.
maximum tilt.
Yeah.
I can just imagine, um, moments on the ship when it is kind of like the water's pretty rocky. There's a lot of wind, and you look, down, and that's water down there, not a ship anymore. Like you're that tilted.
Right.
Um, that sounds pretty terrifying.
Yeah, so the crow's nest is an interesting one. And then
Hmm.
there's just general repair work, right? So the
Yeah.
ship's carpenter, sometimes it's referred to as like the chip, CHIP of the ship. Um, and yeah, so of course they're in charge of the integrity of the wood of the ship, and as well as like so they act as a mechanic and an engineer as well as everything. In there, so the big thing that they're in charge for is of course repairing the sheets. So sheets get torn, there's wear and tear there.
Mhm.
But what I think is an interesting process, and this is a very dangerous process, it's taking care of the hull. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and this I think is a very interesting kind of skill challenge that you could present for your characters. So here's what it entails: is you go into shore during high tide, and then you let the shore go away to low tide, and you careen your ship so it's up on sand, laying on its side, and then you have to go through yeah and you have to go through and you have to look for holes, cracks. You have to get rid of barnacles. You have to see if you've
Oh
got a
my
shipworm
gosh.
infection. um and yeah, you have to like tear off pieces of wood to replace, especially if it gets shipworms, which
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so shipworms aren't actually worms, they're clams. And they're these interesting clams that just love to eat the wood and burrow through the wood and everything.
Ugh.
And if a ship gets really infested with them, it's hard to keep it afloat, right? So this is
Yeah.
this is one of those things. So if they're not super deep, right? And it is this thing, right? If it's not super deep, you can sand it, and that's okay, and that's fine.
Hmm.
But if it gets deep, that entire plank has to get replaced. And if you don't keep on it, your ship is gonna sink.
Right. Right.
Um,
Ugh. That's a cool problem because I just ran a little adventure where someone was trying to cut through the hull, and at the end of the day, that group had the mending spell. The mending spell fixes something that is a foot by a foot by a foot. So super easy for them to be like, I'm in that hole. We're done. Like, oh, did someone like slash through it? Maybe that's two mendings. 2 minutes. We're good. I can do that from inside the boat, no problem. But you can't mend worms out of a boat.
no, no, you
That's
can't.
it feels like that'd be something else.
right? Yeah.
Oh, I am
One
not clicking
thing's
those links. Zero chance.
there's one thing interesting about shipworms, which is why it's not such a big issue anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and that's lead paint. So when sometime in the 1700s they started painting the hulls of ships with lead paint, and
Oh,
that prevented shipworms.
cool.
So, but
Just
these are pirates. These are
uh,
pirates. They don't have access to lead paint.
yeah, rates and just leaving a toxic slew of lead back behind all the boats for a few hundred years. That sounds great.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, like that's brutal, and that's uh,
Oh yeah.
so and then we're not even done. So they'd waited hot tide, it would go away, the tide rolled away, and then they would sometimes have to use like long ship or long ropes and manpower to drag the entire ship further up the shore so that they had enough
Right.
time to work on everything. And then when it's careened like that, you can only get access to one side.
Oh, sure, sure.
So there's a couple of ways that they would do this. One, they would either let the shore come up and then they would go back out with the shore and reposition, which ultimately took longer but was safer. Or they would use manpower and ropes again, and like tree trunks and stalks and wood to kind of like
Flip the boat.
flip
Oh
it
my god.
and then let it down slowly so you don't break any of that work that you just went through.
That's wild. That's just wild. Um, wow. I keep thinking about like the dry dock scene in like the Sherlock Holmes movie, where
Hmm.
they just destroy a ship and then like it gets launched out. But yeah, it's like a massive distance from the shoreline, tons of ropes keeping it set. Um, Having to do that kind of stuff in there feels difficult. Doing that where you don't have that facility at all sounds like it sucks.
Right? Yeah.
I want no part of that, which means it's a fun thing to have to do in D&D. Or at the very
Right?
least a fun description of what people are doing during like some downtime where the ship is broken. Making that a skill challenge or something could be fun.
Yeah. There's a really great scene of them doing this in Black Flag,
Mhm.
Black Flags on Stars, which
Mhm.
is a kind of Game of Thrones with pirates. And as they're flipping it over, like ropes are breaking, their sticks are breaking, and someone get crushed under the boat. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's I think their chip
Yeah.
lost their leg during that or something.
Oh my
It was pretty
gosh.
great. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Fun.
Okay, so and the other kind of daily task, like of course there's like cooking and stuff like that on
Mhm.
a ship. Uh, you know, repairing the sheets is exactly that, right? It's
Right.
repairing the sheets, it's sewing holes and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But what is the one task that when you think about captains giving orders on a ship, what is it that they're doing?
Oh, it's swabbing the deck.
It is. It's
Right?
swabbing the
Right?
deck. Yeah, absolutely. So a clean deck means you know the condition of the wood, so that's important. There's nothing slick on the deck. I mean, like blood from fights or vomit from
Sure.
last night's celebrations, right? You want a certain level of cleanliness on the floor of your home, and so you're going to have that same thing here. So swabbing the deck. Um, is also taking care of tarring the deck too. So when we talk about tarring the deck, we're talking about taking pine or wood tar and rubbing it
Mhm.
into the wood of the deck. This serves to make it more water resistant, resistant to the day and day wear of wear and tear on the ship. Because you're gonna have a lot of crew running back and forth on this. So this is something that's just constantly going on. You're going to be doing this from one end to the other. You're also going to be you're going to be swabbing everything and using this pine tar on the outside of your deck when you have it careened as well to help kind of protect it from barnacles and boat worms.
Mhm.
um, And then lastly, in addition to the tarring, you're going to do caulking. So you would use ropes and other strands of fabric to fill in all the cracks in wood, and then you would seal it
Right.
with pine tar to help keep your ship ship watertight, or make sure you don't sink during a storm because it wasn't properly caulked.
Ah, see, it's easy. It's an easy life. The pirate's life
Right?
for me.
It's
Seems simple.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
that's just kind of something that they don't really talk about. But I mean, I could definitely see a scene where it's like, okay, well, your job is to unravel chunks of rope and fill
mhm.
these cracks.
Yeah. Right.
So,
I like that. And I want it to be part of that dramatic scene where like the storm is coming in, and somehow you just realized, or somehow you just survived an attack, and there was damage to the hull. Um, that would be kind of fun, actually. Like you've just done some ship to
mhm,
ship combat, you survived, and here's the storm. So damage repairs right now, because usually,
right now.
if you're just floating along, there's not really a time limit that we need to worry about. So in D&D, I usually let those things go. They just happen, right? But with
Hmm.
danger coming, that sounds fun.
Yeah, and so those are kind of the major day-to-day duties on a ship, for the general crew. Of course, there's keeping captain's log and
Right.
navigating and those kinds of things that have more to do with your role. Um, but yeah, no, I love the idea of, oh, we just got into a fight and we have some bullet holes in the side of our ship, and now we're getting into rough waters, so we have to figure out a way to seal those holes and make our ship tight, because this storm we're heading into is
Mhm.
gonna kick our butts.
Right. Right. Oh, that sounds fun. Or going through the storm and it tore your sails, but now the ship was waiting for the storm to pass, and so now they're coming for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. Those things sound fun. I mean, there's a good way to put those together to make a scene really, really tense.
Hmm. Did you ever read the book The K, or The Key, depending on how you pronounce it?
Yes. I'm pretty sure I read it in high school, but I couldn't tell you much about it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
So it
I
was a book
read
about
it in high school.
Reddit. Yeah. Uh, so it was a book about a young man and a older gentleman who were on a ship. I think it was a cruise. The cruise sank, and it was just this older African American man and this young white boy who ended up on this island, and the young man couldn't see. So he followed around. But what I'm alluding to is there's a scene in which a hurricane hits the island,
Oh,
and it has a lot of really great descriptions of what the winds are going to be like on your ship whenever you're in the ocean, and that kind of stuff. But what's interesting and what's fun is the eye of the storm, right? And this is a thing. It's all of a sudden it's storm, eye of the
mm,
storm, and you have a limited amount of time to do whatever you need to do. I
right.
could definitely see a really cool scene where you have to be, fixing the sheets, you have to be fixing the hull, you have to be doing all these things. You have to have your
Mhm.
lookout up above, watching to see how close the eye is getting and shouting
Yeah.
commands, right? I could definitely see a scene like that where it's just, yeah, you're just in this time rush, and you have to prioritize. Are you
Mhm.
going to be able to get all the holes done? Are you going to be able to fix all the
Yeah.
sheets? Are you going to be able to put up the new mast? Right? Things like that.
Right. I love the Eye of the Storm because it is a sense of like real world magic, right? There's just
Hmm.
no way. There's no way there's that perfect sense of calm in the middle of that storm, right? I mean, it's such a perfect way to start thinking about the strange bits of the sea as well. Like what kind of rituals can you only do in the eye of a storm? Can your ship withstand getting through the storm and getting to the middle without sinking? And then once you're there doing this thing while these repairs are going on, could be really, really fun. Because I love the mystical aspects of what could happen at sea, this strange environment you're fighting against. I like that that one's like right on the border because it's a totally real thing. At the same time, how
Yeah,
can it be a real thing? You know?
it's so weird, right? And
Hmm.
the eyes of the storm could be huge too, right?
Yeah.
It's you know, I remember living in Florida, and when Andrew hit, it's like the eye of the storm took up like the entire like east to west of Florida at one point, and it was just like, man,
Jeez, that's
maybe that
unbelievable.
might be a little bit. It's might be a
Mhm.
touch of a touch of hyperbole, maybe, but not really that much. Not so. Um, and that's an interesting thing to kind of talk about too is storms on a
Mhm.
boat. I don't have a much already written about this or researched about this, but we can extrapolate what it would be like, at least for our D&D characters, to be on a boat. Things that they would have to worry
Sure.
about, um, bailing water, right? Clearing out the bilge. Uh, that's always the time the monsters are going to attack.
Oh, sure. Sure, of
Yeah,
course.
you're always that's when the Sahagin come crawling up on the side of your ship.
Mhm. What was the thing I did? I some of my kids went underwater, right? They were doing a little diving, a little recovery, and I had them look up. Um, and they look up and they see the shadow of the ship. Like it's super easy to see. The sun's overhead. It's an obvious shadow. Like, of course you get attacked. Of course you do.
Of course, of course,
Everything's coming for you.
yeah. Um, oh, and I mentioned the mast before too, but that's another thing that they would do when they careened was if they needed to replace the mast, that's when they would
Mm,
do it. Um, and the most valuable things pirates took from other ships were extra sheets and extra wood and extra masts. Um, and I don't know if we talked a whole lot about this before, but the kind of targets they would hit were targets that had supplies primarily for their ship. Um,
sure. Yeah.
the giant doubloon ridden boats from Spain, they weren't as common as the details would make us think. Primarily, they were looking for parts for their ship, ammunition, and like probably barrels of wine and stuff like that, right? Other goods.
Hmm.
They would often take like merchant ships that had things like clothing or rolls of fabric, and that's what they would sell in ports, and then turn around and drink it all away before they headed out again.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. So yeah, looking for ships that are similar to your own, so that the parts are
Mhm.
gonna, don't get too small of a ship. You don't want to mess with those.
Yeah.
It's not gonna have enough that you need, or maybe it's easy because there's only a few people. I don't know. Using my Puzzle Pirates experience, and it's not good enough for this.
It's plenty good. Uh, and that's one of the fun things about pirates. It's like whatever you think pirates are, they are, right? And when we talk about pirates, we're talking about golden age piracy pirates, clearly, because
Sure.
those are the ones that are appealing to people. It's not the pirates before that kidnapped Caesar. Nobody cares about the pirates that kidnapped Caesar, because because they were just other Romans, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't have that fantasy. It doesn't have that escape
Right.
that the Caribbean pirates had. Your Blackbeards, your Captain Cook, your folks like that, right? Your Calico Jacks. Those pirates are the ones that we have the interesting stories about. That's where the
Right.
swashbuckling idea comes from. We don't talk about the freebooters who are tromping up and down through like marshlands and lower or shallower waters. We're not talking about the buccaneers who would we're talking pirates, golden age pirates. Uh,
Right.
yeah,
Big ships, big crews.
yeah, big crews, big
Right.
ships, big guns,
Adventure.
sword
Yeah.
fights, adventure.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Exactly. right? You know, we're not talking Vikings, right? Who
Mhm.
weren't hugely different than pirates. I mean, you know, right?
Yeah.
They went around and they raided villages. You know, pirates go around and some of them raided villages, but most raided other ships.
Right. Which I think is really the kind of otherness that feels like its own story, right? I like that part a whole lot. You know, if you
Hmm.
if you are sailing around on a boat and attacking villages, moving a little far away from kind of like the D&D adventuring paradigm, because it's not the unknown at all. You're finding like,
No,
very easy little towns, and I don't like that. But a ship, what could be on that ship? Who knows? It's a
anything.
battle of life and death here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When I bring pirates into my games, I make sure it's done in a way that makes the pirates make sense.
Hmm.
Because I don't think the pirates initially started out thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna be a bad guy, right? I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna
Right.
rob and steal. That's what I'm gonna do. You know,
Hmm.
a lot of them were doing things like fighting for freedom. You know, you take a look at Lafayette. Lafayette was fighting for French freedom. He fought for American freedom. He was considered a pirate until he won. You
Sure.
know, one person's privateer or pirate is just another monarch's privateer. You know, this that happened to Captain Cook, I believe. He was one of the ones. He also ended up being one of the ones who went around and did the East Coast or West Coast.
Sure.
But he was, I believe he was a queen, one of the queen's privateers, and he set out sail. Um, and while he was sailing, the allies changed and the alliances changed, and then it was like the Spanish queen was in charge or king was in charge or something. So all of a sudden he was a pirate.
Gotcha.
So you know
Right.
it can be that kind of things like buckling against the monarchs, trying to save your family. You know, because when you were a sailor in the British Navy, you would get promised, say you get promised you get paid £1 a year. Um, and year comes around, they'll be like, okay, well, you'll get it next year, and your family dies because they have no money, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, you know, you get the equivalent on one voyage as a pirate, right? You come back, you have enough money for your family to live on for a year as a pirate, and some pirates did that. So good and bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Depends on how you decide to
Absolutely.
color them.
Right. But I do like that because there's a lot of room for building the opposing, like who exactly are going to be the general targets of your campaign, and then thinking
Hmm.
about who they're going to be. Um, this game I was playing, there was a merchant fleet that we went up against multiple times, and that was very much a sense of, well, we're not exactly good. We're just that's an easy target. We need some supplies versus the enemy ship that was following. They were definitely bad, right? So that is based on some monarch who just wants to steal the secrets of the sea, and so they're
Hmm.
coming after us to keep us from getting to these wondrous adventuring places. So I definitely love the idea of having a wide ranging fleet. Maybe there are sometimes a couple ships at a time, but often there's just a scouting ship going around looking to make sure everything's going right. Right, we're keeping our very tight authoritarian regime in control, and those make great targets for a pirating adventure. I think. I mean, they're obvious. We're gonna get supplies. We're gonna go and fight all these people. My characters that think fighting is fun, cool, I'm in for that. The ones that think freedom is good, okay, we got that too. There's a lot of different ways that can still be on the heroic edge of piracy.
Hmm. Yeah. You know, and a very light recap too. Like, there's all kinds of reasons people took up piracy. It was anything
Yeah,
from
yeah,
like family. It was something like freedom. You know, sometimes it was as simple as their ship got captured by pirates and they had the choice. They could either become a pirate or go about their business. You know, it wasn't always that the pirates would kill them for saying that they didn't want
yeah,
to join the crew. A lot of times they would just take what they wanted and leave. Like, leave them with an empty ship or leave them on their dinghies or leave them at shore somewhere. Um,
right.
yeah, so you know, just kind of you can kind of think about those types of things whenever you're building your pirate adventures. You're building the people that they encounter. You're building thinking about the other pirates. You're thinking about why your players are gonna be pirates.
Hmm.
Um, you know, because pirates were
Right.
overall, pirates were bad guys. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of reasons that we romanticize the Caribbean pirates, and it's because so many of them were fighting for a better life for them and or their family. I
Right.
think it's the main reason.
Exactly.
Cool.
I'm
Another
excited.
week of
Excited.
pirates down. Um, what aspect do we want to touch base on next week? If you don't have any thoughts, I'll come up with something by next week. But that will
Yeah.
be
Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. We'll
all
have to
right.
do some research over the week and come up with something good. Um,
All right,
yeah, because I'm
that sounds good to
excited to
me.
get down to the plot line of this adventure to come. This was
And I think
very yeah.
oh yeah, no, I'm thinking we're getting very close to that. I
Mhm.
would say next week or the week after we start figuring out our plot line.
Sounds good. Because I have been starting to work on Detective Crabs, getting that adventure kind of written in a way that we could possibly get out to other people so that they could play the adventure of Detective Crabs. It would
Yes.
be fun to do that with our pirate adventure as well. I mean, we got
Yeah.
plenty. I think this will be our fifth adventure at this point,
Yeah.
and I want to start getting them written down.
Awesome. Cool. Well, as we wrap the show up, make sure to go back Richard's Kickstarter
Oh
on the
yeah,
Kickstarters,
Twills
and
twist points.
yeah. Anything else you want to kind of shout out?
Oh, I don't think so right now. I think that's my big thing. And oh my gosh, if I have one Kickstarter going, I shouldn't have too many other big things to shout out, right? I don't
I
know.
mean,
We'll
I
see
don't
next
know.
week.
I'm not your boss. You do what you want.
True. True.
All right. Well, that's all I got. So thank you, everyone. Make sure to follow us on all the social medias. We are Owlbear Soup. Go ahead and join our new Discord, soup.fyi/discord. And you can watch us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on both YouTube and Twitch, and more places coming soon. And yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see you all next time.